Welcome to the deep dive. You know, where we take all those stacks of articles and research you've been meaning to get to and pull up the good stuff.
That's right.
All those fascinating little nuggets of knowledge that make you go, huh,
Exactly.
I never knew that. And today we're diving into a world of shimmering palaces and fierce warriors and whispers of betrayal.
Oh, I love it.
The Safavid Empire.
Yes.
In the 16th century. And at the heart of it all are two women,
Okay.
Peri Khanum and Khair al-Nisa Begum,
I love these women.
whose stories are more captivating than any drama you'll find on TV.
Oh, absolutely. So much better. What makes this period so compelling is that it was a true turning point for the Safavid dynasty. You have the death of a powerful Shah, a succession crisis that throws everything into turmoil.
Oh, wow.
And these two women navigating a world dominated by men,
Right.
trying to seize control of their own destinies.
I'm already hooked. So, to really set the scene, can you give us a little background on the Safavid Empire? Who were these people and what were the key forces at play?
Okay, so the Safavids, they burst onto the scene a little over a century earlier,
Okay.
uniting Persia under a single banner and establishing Shia Islam as the dominant religion. But by the mid-1500s, they were grappling with internal divisions and external threats, especially from the neighboring Ottoman Empire.
Oh, I see. And I understand there was a particular group, the Kizilbash, who played a significant role in Safavid politics. Who were they?
Oh, the Kizilbash were fascinating. They were a confederation of Turkic tribes known for their fierce loyalty
Okay.
to the Safavid Shahs. They were essentially the backbone of the Safavid military,
Wow.
and their support was crucial for any ruler hoping to stay in power.
So they were really powerful.
Oh, hugely. In fact, their name, Kizilbash, means redheads, a reference to the distinctive red hats that they wore,
Oh, interesting.
which symbolized their allegiance to the Safavid cause. So imagine them as this powerful force, almost a kingmaker in their own right,
Wow.
capable of swaying the balance of power with their support.
Wow. Okay. So in this world of warriors and shifting allegiances, where do our two protagonists, Peri Khanum and Khair al-Nisa Begum, fit in?
Great question.
Let's start with Peri.
Okay, great.
What made her such a remarkable figure?
She was the daughter of Shah Tahmasp I,
Okay.
a ruler known for his long and some might say iron-fisted reign.
Yeah.
But unlike many princesses of her time, Peri wasn't content to simply live a life of luxury and leisure.
Right?
She was incredibly intelligent
Oh, wow.
and politically astute.
Okay.
And she used those qualities to become a powerful force in her own right.
She sounds like she was a woman ahead of her time.
Oh, she was, absolutely.
Did her father recognize her talents
He did.
and allow her to participate in the affairs of state?
Absolutely.
Really?
Shah Tahmasp, I clearly adored his daughter and recognized her intelligence.
Wow.
While she couldn't hold any formal positions of power, that was simply unheard of
Right.
for women in that era. She wielded considerable influence behind the scenes. She was known for her sharp mind, her diplomatic skills, even her talent as a poet.
Wow.
Some historians even describe her as the power behind the throne, whispering in her father's ear and shaping his decisions.
It sounds like she was really taken seriously. Wow. She sounds like a real force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
But what about Khair al-Nisa? Her story seems quite different, doesn't it?
It does. Khair al-Nisa's path to power was forged in tragedy.
Okay.
Her father, a provincial governor, was murdered,
Oh, no.
forcing her to flee to the Safavid court for safety.
Okay.
She eventually married Prince Muhammad Kodabanda,
Okay.
a seemingly insignificant figure at the time.
Right.
But don't let that fool you. Khair al-Nisa was a woman with a plan,
Okay.
and she possessed a quiet ambition that would eventually lead her to the heart of Safavid power.
So we have two women, each with her own unique journey, navigating a world of courtly intrigue and political maneuvering. I'm already sensing a clash of personalities in the making.
Oh, yeah.
But before we delve into that, I think it's important to understand the event that really set the stage for their rivalry, the death of Shah Tahmasp I. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, well, imagine the year is 1576.
Okay.
Shah Tahmasp I, after ruling for over 50 years, dies without naming a clear successor.
Oh, okay.
This creates a power vacuum that sends shockwaves through the empire. Suddenly, everyone, from ambitious princes to powerful Kizilbash leaders,
Right.
is jockeying for position, trying to seize control in the ensuing chaos.
Oh, wow. Talk about a recipe for disaster. So who emerged as the main contenders for the throne?
Two of Perihan's brothers
Hmm?
immediately stepped into the spotlight, Haydar, who had the support of some factions due to his Georgian heritage,
Okay.
and Ismail, who had been imprisoned by his own father for years.
Really? Wow.
The reasons for Ismail's imprisonment are a bit murky, but some historians speculate it was due to concerns about his loyalty, or perhaps even his sexuality, which was highly taboo at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have two brothers vying for the throne, a power vacuum, and a court filled with ambitious figures.
It's a recipe for trouble.
Yeah. It sounds like things are about to get very interesting. Where do Perihan and Kara-Nisa stand in all of this?
Yeah, good question.
Whose side are they on?
Well, that's where things start to get really intriguing. Perihan throws her support behind Ismail, believing he is the rightful heir. But there's a catch. Haydar seizes power first and promptly detains Perihan within the palace.
Oh.
He knows she's a threat to his claim, and he needs to neutralize her influence.
So Perihan is essentially a political prisoner in her own home.
Yes.
I can't imagine she just sat back and accepted her fate.
You would be right.
What did she do?
You're absolutely right. Perihan was far too clever to simply give up. She outwardly pledged her loyalty to Haydar, even offering to help him secure support from key figures. But secretly, she was working behind the scenes, hatching a daring plan to free Ismail and put him on the throne.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Yeah.
What was her plan?
While appearing submissive to Haydar, she managed to get a message to Ismail's supporters, providing them with keys to the palace.
Oh, she's clever.
She is.
And that, my friend, is where we'll have to leave it for now.
Oh.
Oh, come on. You can't leave us hanging like that. But all right. You've certainly piqued our curiosity. We'll be back in part 2 to find out what happens next in this Safavid power struggle.
Definitely tune in.
Make sure to tune in. You won't want to miss it.
You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. When we left off, Perihan Khanum was playing a dangerous game, seemingly sitting to her brother Haydar's authority while secretly plotting to put her other brother, Ismail, on the throne.
Yes, she had just smuggled keys to the palace out to Ismail's supporters, setting the stage for what I'm sure was a pretty dramatic confrontation.
Oh, absolutely.
What happened next?
Okay, so picture this. It's the dead of night, and a group of armed men loyal to Ismail stealthily make their way into the palace, using those keys that Perihan had provided.
Oh, I bet Haydar never saw it coming.
Not a chance. Ismail's supporters quickly overwhelmed Haydar's guards and stormed his chambers.
Wow.
Haydar's reign was over almost before it began.
Talk about a short-lived coup. So, with Haydar out of the picture, Ismail was now the Shah, thanks to Perihan's cunning plan. She must have been feeling pretty proud of herself.
You know, for a brief moment, she was at the height of her power. Ismail was still en route to the capital city of Qazvin, so Perihan essentially became the de facto ruler.
Oh, wow.
She took charge of the administration, issued decrees, and even received foreign ambassadors.
No way.
Oh, yeah. It was a remarkable display of her political acumen and her ability to command authority in a world dominated by men.
So she really stepped up and showed everyone what she was capable of. But I have a feeling this story doesn't have a happy ending, does it?
Unfortunately not.
What happened when Ismail finally arrived?
Well, Ismail's reign, it was unfortunately short-lived and marred by violence. He had spent years imprisoned by his own father, and those years had left him, well, deeply suspicious and paranoid.
Oh, so even though Perihan had risked everything to put him on the throne, he still didn't trust her.
Sadly, that seems to be the case. Ismail embarked on what can only be described as a reign of terror, executing many of his own relatives whom he perceived as threats.
Oh.
And Perihan, despite her crucial role in his rise to power, found herself increasingly sidelined and isolated.
It's almost Shakespearean, isn't it? The very person she helped put in power becomes her downfall. What ultimately happened to Ismail?
Less than a year after becoming Shah, Ismail died suddenly under mysterious circumstances.
Really?
Some historians believe he was poisoned, and some even point the finger at Perihan, although there's no concrete evidence to support that claim.
Wow, what a tangled web of intrigue. So Ismail's dead, Perihan's influence is waning, and I'm guessing this leaves the Safavid Empire in a pretty precarious position.
Definitely.
What happens next?
With Ismail gone, the throne was, once again, up for grabs. And this time, Perihan threw her support behind her other brother, Muhammad Kudabanda, remember him, the one Khair al-Nisa had married. Now, Muhammad was known to be a gentle soul, even a bit naive, and he also suffered from blindness, which some saw as a significant weakness.
So why would Perihan support him? Doesn't seem like he'd be a very strong ruler.
Well, many believe she saw him as someone she could control, someone who would allow her to continue wielding power from behind the scenes.
I see.
But Perihan had underestimated a crucial player in this Game of Thrones, Kair al-Nisa, who is now known by the title Mari Oya.
Ah, yes, our other protagonist. She's been rather quiet up until now, but something tells me she's about to make her move.
You're absolutely right. With her husband now the Shah, Mari Oya was determined to seize the opportunity. She had spent years waiting for her moment, and she wasn't about to let Perihan or anyone else stand in her way.
Okay, so we have a new Shah who's not exactly known for his leadership skills, a power-hungry wife who's ready to take charge, and Perihan, who's trying to hold on to her influence. This sounds like a recipe for a major showdown.
Oh, for sure.
What happened when Muhammad Kudabanda arrived in the capital city of Qazvin to officially assume the throne?
Well, it was a grand occasion, full of pomp and ceremony. Crowds lined the streets, nobles vied for the new Shah's attention, and Perihan, ever the master of political theater, put on a dazzling display of her own power and influence.
I bet Madi Olya wasn't too thrilled about that.
Let's just say there was no love lost between these two women. According to some accounts, Perihan may have even intentionally snubbed Madi Olya during their first encounter, which only fueled the growing tension between them.
Ooh, I could feel the drama building. What did Madi Olya do? Did she confront Perihan directly?
Not at first. She knew that she needed to be strategic. Remember, she was a woman who had learned to play the long game, to bide her time and wait for the right moment to strike. So while Perihan was busy consolidating her control over the state treasury and surrounding herself with loyal guards, Marioyo was quietly working behind the scenes, building her own network of allies and turning key figures against her rival.
So it's a battle of wits, a game of chess, with the future of the Safavid Empire at stake. Who made the next move?
Well, that's where we'll have to pick up in part 3 of our deep dive. Make sure to tune in to find out what happens next in this fascinating and ultimately tragic tale of two women vying for power in a world determined to keep them in the shadows.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of these two remarkable women in the Safavid Empire, Perihan Khanum and Madi Oya. When we left off, they were locked in this tense power struggle,
Oh, yeah.
each vying for control behind the seemingly ineffectual Shah, Muhammad Kudabanda.
Right. The tension was palpable. Perihan, confident in her years of experience and influence, continued to make strategic moves, solidifying her control over key aspects of the administration. She really believed she had the loyalty of the people and the resources to maintain her position.
But Madi Oya was not one to sit idly by and watch her power slip away. What steps did she take to counter Perihan's moves?
Madi Oya was shrewd. She understood that directly challenging Perihan could backfire, especially given Perihan's deep-rooted connections within the court. So instead, she focused on exploiting the anxieties of the Kizilbash leaders.
Ah, the Kizilbash, those powerful warrior tribes who were so crucial to maintaining power in the Safavid Empire. How did she manage to turn them against Perihan?
Well, she played on their fears. Madi Oya and her allies subtly spread rumors, highlighting Perihan's growing influence and suggesting that she aimed to diminish the Kizilbash's role in the empire. She painted this picture of a future where Perihan would sideline them, perhaps even replace them with a new military force loyal only to her.
That's a clever tactic. The Kizilbash were fiercely proud and protective of their position. I can see how such rumors would unsettle them. How did Perihan respond to this growing threat?
It seems like Perihan underestimated the danger. Maybe she was overconfident, believing her position to be secure. She continued to operate, as she always had, focused on administrative matters and seemingly unaware of the storm brewing around her.
That's often the case, isn't it? We become so accustomed to our own way of operating that we fail to see those shifting tides until it's too late. What was the tipping point? When did things truly unravel for Perihan?
It was this one seemingly insignificant decision that proved to be her downfall. As she was leaving the palace one day, she chose to take a shortcut through the harem gardens. It was a route that left her vulnerable and isolated.
Oh, that sounds like a trap waiting to be sprung. Was it?
Indeed it was. Madi Oya, anticipating this move, had arranged an ambush. So as Perihan's entourage passed through the gardens, this group of armed men loyal to Madi Oya appeared, blocking their path and demanding Perihan's surrender.
Can you imagine the scene, the chaos, the sudden violence erupting in those peaceful gardens, the shock and the fear of Perihan and her attendants? It must have been terrifying.
Yeah. The sources describe it as a scene of utter confusion and panic. Perihan's guards were quickly overwhelmed, and she herself was roughly pulled from her litter. And to add insult to injury, the leader of the ambush was none other than Perihan's former tutor, a man she had trusted and mentored, who had been lured by promises of wealth and power to betray her.
That's a heartbreaking betrayal. To be so close to the pinnacle of power only to be brought down by someone you trusted? What happened to Perihan? Did she manage to escape?
Sadly, no. Realizing the situation was hopeless, and perhaps recognizing the hand of Madi Olya in this plot, Perihan surrendered. She was taken to the home of her former tutor and held prisoner. And later that evening, she was strangled to death.
What a tragic end. For a woman who had been so close to shaping the destiny of the Safavid Empire, it's a stark reminder that even the most brilliant and powerful individuals can be brought down by betrayal and political maneuvering, what became of Madi Olya after Perihan's death.
Well, with Perihan out of the picture, Madi Olya's ascent to power was complete. She became the undisputed force behind the throne, installing her allies in key positions and ruthlessly pursuing anyone who dared to oppose her.
So she achieved what she set out to do. But did she find satisfaction in her victory? Was she able to rule effectively and bring stability to the Safavid Empire?
Well, her reign was marked by both ambition and ruthlessness. She sought to expand Safavid influence, intervened in court politics, even led military campaigns. But she also faced considerable challenges, including ongoing conflicts with the Ottomans and internal rebellions fueled by those who resented her power and influence.
It seemed that even in victory, there are always new battles to be fought. Did Madi Olya manage to overcome these challenges?
Unfortunately, her story, like Perihan's, ends in tragedy. Remember how Madi Olya had orchestrated the assassination of the man who had killed her father all those years ago?
Yeah,
Well, that act of revenge ultimately came back to haunt her.
how so?
The Kizilbash leaders, the very ones she had manipulated to gain power, began to see her as a liability. They felt she had grown too powerful, too independent, and they feared that her actions would destabilize the empire. So they delivered an ultimatum to the Shah: get rid of your wife or face a revolt.
Wow, so the very people who helped her rise to power became her undoing. What did the Shah do?
Muhammad Qutbanda, never known for his decisiveness, tried to appease the Kizilbash by suggesting he exile his wife. But Madi Olya, fiery as ever, refused to go quietly. She would not be cast aside like a pawn in their game.
It seems both of these women shared a stubborn determination, a refusal to submit to the limitations placed upon them. What was the outcome of this standoff?
Well, in 1579, less than 2 years after Perihan's death, Madi Olya met the same fate. The Kizilbash, fearing her continued influence and the potential for further unrest, had her strangled to death.
What a tragic end to both of their stories. Two women who defied the conventions of their time, who rose to positions of power in a world dominated by men, ultimately fell victim to the very system they sought to control.
Their stories offer a fascinating glimpse into the complexities of power and ambition, and the challenges women faced in navigating a patriarchal society. They remind us that history is not just this dry recounting of events, but a tapestry woven with human stories full of triumphs, tragedies, and that enduring struggle for agency and control.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Safavid Empire. We'll be back soon with another fascinating exploration of history's hidden corners. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds engaged.